Information security is primarily a discipline to manage the behavior of blank A technology B people C processes D organizations. People. Careers in information security are booming because of which of the following factors? A. Threats of cyberterrorism B. Government regulations C. Growth of the Internet D. All of these. All of these. A program for information security should include which of the following elements? A. Security policies and procedures B. Intentional attacks only C. Unintentional attacks only D. None of these. Security policies and procedures. Explanation. Answer A is correct. The Carnegie Mellon Information Network Institute designed programs to carry out multiple tasks including information security policies. The growing demand for InfoSec specialists is occurring predominantly in which of the following types of organizations? A. Government B. Corporations C. Not-for-profit foundations D. All of these. D. All of these. The concept of the measures used to ensure the protection of the secrecy of data, objects, or resources. Confidentiality. A catch-all safe rating for any box with a lock on it. This rating describes the thickness of the steel used to make the lockbox. No actual testing is performed to gain this rating. B-rate safe rating. This safe rating is defined as a variably thick steel box with a 1-inch thick door and a lock. No tests are conducted to provide this rating either. C-rate safe rating. ULTL 15 safe rating. ULTL 30 safe rating. Related to information security, confidentiality is the opposite of which of the following? A. Closure B. Disclosure C. Disaster D. Disposal. B. Disclosure. Explanation. Confidentiality models are primarily intended to ensure that no unauthorized access to information is permitted and that accidental disclosure of sensitive information is not possible. Integrity models have which of the three goals? A. Prevent unauthorized users from making modifications to data or programs B. Prevent authorized users from making improper or unauthorized modifications C. Maintain internal and external consistency of data and programs D. All of these. D. All of these. Explanation. Integrity models keep data pure and trustworthy by protecting system data from intentional or accidental changes. D. All of these. Explanation. Availability models keep data and resources available for authorized use, especially during emergencies or disasters. Which of the following represents the three goals of information security? A. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability B. Prevention, detection, and response C. People controls, process controls, and technology controls D. Network security, PC security, and mainframe security. A. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Explanation. These goals form the confidentiality, integrity, availability triad, the basis of all security programs. Usually a documented argument or stated position in order to define a need to make a decision or take some form of action. Business case. A type of security management planning where upper or senior management is responsible for initiating and defining policies for the organization. Top-down approach. A type of security management planning where IT staff make security decisions directly without input from senior management. This approach is rarely used in organizations and is considered problematic in the IT industry. Bottom-up approach. Strategic plan. Tactical plan. Operational plan. Also called classification, the primary means by which data is protected based on its need for secrecy, sensitivity, or confidentiality. It is the process of organizing items, objects, subjects, and so on into groups, categories, or collections with similarities. Data classification. top secret, secret, confidential, sensitive but unclassified, unclassified. 5 levels of government military classification. Top secret. This level of government military data classification is used for data of a restricted nature. The unauthorized disclosure of data classified as secret will have significant effects and cause critical damage to national security. Secret. Confidential. Sensitive but unclassified. Unclassified. The easy way to remember the names of the 5 levels of the government or military data classification scheme. U.S. can stop terrorism. Top secret, secret, confidential, sensitive but unclassified, unclassified. 4 common or possible business classification levels. Confidential, private, sensitive, public. Confidential. This common business private sector data classification level is used for data that is of a private or personal nature and intended for internal use only. A significant negative impact could occur for the company or individuals if private data is disclosed. Private. This common business private sector data classification level is used for data that is more classified than public data. A negative impact could occur for the company if sensitive data is disclosed. Sensitive. This common business private sector data classification level is the lowest level of classification. This is used for all data that does not fit in one of the higher classifications. Its disclosure does not have a serious negative impact on the organization. Public. Relating to data classification or categorization, this is the formal assignment of responsibility to an individual or group. Ownership. This role is assigned to the person who is ultimately responsible for the security maintained by an organization and who should be most concerned about the protection of its assets. They sign off on all policy issues. Senior manager. This role is assigned to a trained and experienced network, systems, and security engineer who is responsible for following the directives mandated by senior management. Security professional. This role is assigned to the person who is responsible for classifying information for placement and protection within the security solution. They are typically a high-level manager who is ultimately responsible for data protection. Data owner. Data custodian. User. Auditor. One of the more widely used security control frameworks, it is a documented set of best IT security practices crafted by the Information Systems Audit and Control Association. Control objectives for information and related technology. Principle 1, meeting stakeholder needs. Principle 2, covering the enterprise end-to-end. Principle 3, applying a single, integrated framework. Principle 4, enabling a holistic approach. Principle 5, separating governance from management. Comment 5. Defense in depth is needed to ensure that which 3 mandatory activities are present in a security system: A. Prevention, response, and prosecution; B. Response, collection of evidence, and prosecution; C. Prevention, detection, and response; D. Prevention, response, and management. C. Prevention, detection, and response. Explanation: Defense in depth is implemented in overlapping layers that provide the 3 elements needed to secure assets: prevention, detection, and response. T or F functional requirements describe what a system should do. True. T or F assurance requirements describe how functional requirements should be implemented and tested. True. Which of the following best represents the two types of IT security requirements? A. Functional and logical. B. Logical and physical. C. Functional and assurance. D. Functional and physical. Functional and assurance. Explanation. Functional requirements describe what a system should do. Assurance requirements describe how functional requirements should be implemented and tested. Which of the following terms best describes the probability that a threat to an information system will materialize? A. Threat. B. Vulnerability. C. Hole. D. Risk. D. Risk. Explanation. Risk involves looking at what is the consequence of a loss and the likelihood that this loss will occur. B. Controls are implemented to mitigate risk and reduce the potential for loss. Explanation. Controls mitigate a wide variety of information security risks and reduce loss. Security functional requirements describe which of the following: A. What a security system should do by design. B. What controls a security system must implement. C. Quality assurance description and testing approach. D. How to implement the system. A. What a security system should do by design. A. The Information Security Common Body of Knowledge is a compilation and distillation of all security information collected internationally of relevance to information security professionals. The 10 domains of the Information Security Common Body of Knowledge. The Operations Security domain includes which of the following? A. Mechanisms for secure access to a data center. B. Identification of controls over hardware, media, and personnel. C. Help desk support for security incidents. D. Consulting on IT projects. B. Identification of controls over hardware, media, and personnel. Information Security Governance and Risk Management. Security Architecture and Design. Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery Planning. Legal Regulations, Investigations, and Compliance. Physical Security. Operations Security. Access Control. Cryptography. Telecommunications and Network Security. This CBK domain focuses on sound and secure application development techniques. This domain requires a good understanding of the controls needed for the software development lifecycle and how they are applied during each phase. Software Development Security. The access control domain includes which of the following? A collection of mechanisms to create secure architectures for asset protection. B. Instructions on how to install perimeter door security. C. A methodology for applications development. D. A methodology for secure data center operations. People more interested in certifying themselves as security experts in a business context should consider preparing for which of the following certifications? A. GIAC. B. CISA. C. ISAP. D. SSCP. B. CISA. Explanation. The subject areas of the CISA focuses more on security with business procedures than technology. A document that defines the scope of security needed by the organization and discusses the assets that require protection and the extent to which security solutions should go to provide the necessary protection. Security Policy. Regulatory, advisory, and informative. 3 overall categories of security policies. This category of a security policy is required whenever industry or legal standards are applicable to your organization. This policy discusses the regulations that must be followed and outlines the procedures that should be used to elicit compliance. Regulatory policy. This category of a security policy discusses behaviors and activities that are acceptable and defines consequences of violations. It explains senior management's desires for security and compliance within an organization. Most policies are in this category. Advisory policy. Information policy. Security standards are the next level below what? Security policies. T or F tasks and responsibilities in regards to developing a security policy should not be assigned to an individual person but rather to a job function or role. True, a security policy does not define who is to do what but rather defines what must be done by the various roles within the security infrastructure. Then these defined security roles are assigned to individuals as a job description or an assigned work task. Acceptable use policy. Security baselines are below what? Security standards. Baseline. Guidelines. The final element of the formalized security policy structure. Procedures. Procedures aka Standard Operating Procedure. T or F threat modeling is the security process where potential threats are identified, categorized, and analyzed. True threat modeling identifies the potential harm, the probability of occurrence, the priority of concern, and the means to eradicate or reduce the threat. What is SD3 plus C? Secure by design, secure by default, secure in deployment and communication. What are the two goals of SD3 plus C? To reduce the number of security-related design and coding defects to reduce the severity of any remaining defects. This type of threat modeling takes place during the early stages of systems development, specifically during initial design and specifications establishment. This type of threat modeling is also known as a defensive approach. Proactive approach. This method is based on predicting threats and designing in specific defenses during the coding and crafting process rather than relying on post-deployment updates and patches. This type of threat modeling takes place after a product has been created and deployed. This deployment could be in a test or laboratory environment or to the general marketplace. This type of threat modeling is also known as the adversarial approach. Fuzz testing. Focused on assets, focused on attackers, focused on software. 3 structured approaches to accurately identify relevant threats. Focused on assets. Focused on attackers. A threat categorization scheme developed by Microsoft. STRIDE. The meaning of the acronym STRIDE, the threat categorization scheme developed by Microsoft. Spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, elevation of privilege. Spoofing. Any action resulting in unauthorized changes or manipulation of data, whether in transit or in storage. This type of threat is used to falsify communications or alter static information. Such attacks are a violation of integrity as well as availability. Tampering. Repudiation. Information disclosure. Denial of service. Elevation of privilege. T or F. Although STRIDE is typically used to focus on application threats, it is applicable to other situations such as network threats and host threats. True. A threat modeling methodology that uses a risk-centric approach. It aims at selecting or developing countermeasures in relation to the value of the assets to be protected. Process for attack simulation and threat analysis. The 7 stages of POSTA. Each stage of POSTA has a specific list of objectives to achieve and deliverables to produce in order to complete the stage. A threat methodology which can be identified by the acronym disaster, reproducibility, exploitability, affected users, discoverability, also known as a threat modeling concept based on agile project management and programming principles. The goal of this methodology is to integrate threat and risk management into an agile programming environment on a scalable basis. Visual, agile, and simple threat.